Hey everybody, it's Christine. What do you do when you're scrapbooking and you are stuck for a fresh idea? We're going to talk about a couple of things today that I do to overcome that. And all that's going to go along with creating a layout for scrapbook adhesives by 3L. So first off, as you may have picked up on already this month, but maybe not because I've only done one video, I am doing a sketch. And I am using this sketch over and over this month for my projects. I'm going to make each layout look different, but they're going to follow the same sketch. And that is the very first thing. When I'm stuck, when I'm overwhelmed, when life is busy because school and COVID and all those things, I find a way to make it easier. And so for this month, that means I'm using a sketch, and it puts a different twist on my scrapbooking. It gives you a view of what something like that would look and gives you an idea of maybe something you can do to ease a little bit of your time stress. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing will be coming up in just a little bit. Now, you can see that I am using this fun school themed kit. It's got a little bit of a graduation theme / back to school theme. And it comes from the ScrapRoom this month and is in their Flavors of the Month page kits collection, which includes 4 different page kits. Now, the second thing I like to do when I am just kind of stuck and need some inspiration is I like to try and create a unique background. How do you do that? Well, pull out a supply and just put on your thinking cap. In this case today, I pulled out a whole bunch of 3D foam adhesives from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. And I looked at them and I thought, what can I do? What can I do that would be different? I've used these as adhesives. I've used these as embellishments. I've used these as wearing them on the outside and using them for different things. But I needed something that was kind of a different spin. I also knew that I didn't want a lot of color. So, to create a unique background today, I am taking these 3D foam stars and I am putting them all over the white part of my layout. So you can see I've got that plaid along the outside, and then I am just adhering these all over. You can also see that in the center, I am adding leftover packaging pieces. What I'm doing there is just trying to elevate the center of the layout without wasting a bunch of good adhesive. So this adhesive is just leftover from star packages. Put it in the middle. It'll help to pop up the middle of my layout without me having to put a whole bunch of squares or a whole bunch of crafty foam tape or that kind of thing. Now, this is going to take several sheets of stars. So this is definitely a commitment to pretty much giving up at least a package of your 3D foam stars, if not more. But I was okay with that because I knew I was going to create a unique one-of-a-kind layout. So let's speed ahead and see what happens next. Now I've got my stars all spread around. I've got all different sizes from the sheets. I'm pulling the top paper off so that I reveal the adhesive side. And you can see that I've got the outline stars, I've got the filled in stars, I've got a good variety, and they're a very subtle addition to my background. Now, obviously, it's not going to work to have it like that. So let's pour some clear embossing powder over the top of all these currently sticky stars. And we are going to go ahead and just heat emboss them and create a shiny, still white look to these stars. Now, you could also use white here. I like the idea of white on white, clear on white for a couple of reasons. Number one, no chance of stray pieces of embossing powder landing where you don't want them to and showing up and being obnoxious. Number two, I like the look of the white on white. It kind of looks like you have a die cut background going on, and you don't. You've got this really cool dimensional layout that has a lot of texture and dimension to it. Now I'm going to dump off the excess. You can see I used pretty much the whole jar for that part. I do want to make a note. I did not reveal the adhesive on the middle part where I'm going to cover that up because I don't want to waste it, obviously, just on the star part. Now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to heat this up, and it will just take me a couple minutes to get the embossing to set and cool back down, and then I will jump into the rest of the layout. One thing to note is that you want to have as little adhesive as far as like the Easy Runner Grand, that kind of thing on there already, because the heat does mess with those a little bit. So you can see that my plaid border there is kind of warping, I guess, for lack of a better word. And I'm going to end up having to just reattach to that because it got a little wonky just because of that heat. So when you're doing something like that, take into consideration that you don't want to already have layers and layers and layers of adhesive on there, because heat and adhesive generally don't work great together. They do work great when you're involving 3D foam adhesives, though. So you can see I've got that there. I'm going to just fix it up with a little bit of more glue. I'm going to put the whole thing onto another sheet of cardstock just to help with some of the warping. A similar kind of effect as when you put on wet mixed media. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but just adding a layer of cardstock behind it even just makes it smooth right back out, and you're ready to roll. Now we're going to carry on with the rest of the sketch. I wanted to give it a different feel. This is the second time I'm working with it. And so instead of having a rectangle on a rectangle in my background, I'm going to have a circle and then I'm going to have a rectangle. Again, just personalizing the sketch, still going with the idea of layers, but making it my own. So I'm using this really pretty blue paper, and I'm going to go ahead and add that on there, and I'm just going to reveal those adhesives there in the middle that I put on before, as well as just add a few more pieces. You can see I'm just literally pulling it off of the packaging from the stars, and just wanting to make sure that it evenly stays raised. So I'll just pull all those pieces up and make use of that. You can see right off the bat how nicely that blue pops against the white in all that dimension, as well as the plaid. Just a really nice combination and a very traditional back to school color combination. Now I'm going to pull out my pictures. These are from one of my son's preschool graduation, and I'm going to cut those down. One of them I'm going to matte with white, and the other one I'm going to cut down, and I'm going to turn it into a banner so I can bring some of that plaid paper into the center. You can see I also added in a little bit of this wood grain paper that was a really light color, almost like the color of a manila folder. I added that right there for my second layer of a rectangle right there. And then I'm going to stagger my pictures, and I'm just trying to right now kind of trim down the banner and get it to just the right look that I'm going for before I add the finishing touches to this layout. So I'm going to add that one on there, and I am going to put it on flat with the Easy Runner Grand, and then I'll add the banner right next to it. Both are pictures of him at the same time, but they have he has a very different look on his face. So I wanted to include both of them to tell his cute story. Now the sketch called for the title to go up there on the left-hand side and then a subtitle down on the right side. So I am going to keep the title right where they say, just make sure I get it on there nice and straight. I am also, in addition to working with the Flavors of the Month kit, working with the embellishment kit. So I've got both a 12 by 12 set of stickers that goes with this, and I've got some ephemera and some twine and even some little wood apples, and I'm just kind of deciding what I want to use where. I do really like this little ruler, so I'm going to add that just below the main picture there. And I'm kind of stuck at this point on trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and I think I'm going to end up just going less is more and not adding too much to it. With a very detailed background, it still doesn't feel plain or empty when I've got this much going on already. The sketch does call for a subtitle to go right in that right-hand corner, and I really like the way the marquee lines up with the point of the banner there, so I'm going to just tuck that in right there. That also brings me into a good triangle of embellishments working their way around the pictures, so that is definitely a good, pleasing goal that I've got going. Now, my final thing is, what else do I want to add? Because I do need a little bit more here, some kind of embellishing, and I'm just trying to kind of figure out if there's a way to work these animals in or where I want to land with this. Much as I do like those animals, they're not really doing it for me, so I don't think I'm going to stick with that. I do like how many different apple choices there are available, so I think I'm going to run with that a little bit. So you can see I've got that apple on a stack of books on the left-hand side. Then I've got this pencil here, and I'm going to see if I can just tuck an apple right on there. I did add a little 3D foam square to the underneath side of that apple so that it'll pop up. And then I'm going to pull that raccoon back up, and let's see if I can get an apple that will work right there. And I think that bigger one might be a good choice. Again, that accentuates that triangle around the pictures. It also really brings in a nice pop of red to that triangle, so you can see how they're really framing the picture well. Now, I do really love these wood apples as well, and I'd love to find a way to use them, but they feel a little bit cumbersome at this point. Just too much on top of a lot of dimension and texture already. So I'm going to back off on those, and I'm just kind of seeing, is there anything else that I want to add? But I think really I've got a good thing going here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop adding stickers, back away, and take one last look at it to see if there's anything else. She did include a tag in the embellishments, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off the top quarter of that tag and tuck that underneath my main picture there. And that just adds a nice subtle detail without adding a lot of color or dimension or anything. I'm also going to tie a little bit of the black chunky twine to this just to add a little bit of movement and flow to the layout. And that is it. So I know several of you asked, where can you find this sketch? If you head to Facebook and search the ScrapRoom group, you will find a group for this kit club, and her sketch is in there. I will also try to link you to that down below. So if you want to play along with this sketch, you definitely can, and I would love to see what you do with it. Again, these are all, the whole page is from that kit, and all the cool embellishments are from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. So I will link you to those down below. And that is it. So thank you so much for joining me today. Keep an eye out for the next video in this series.